The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
We are broadcasting to the public.
Thank you all. I appreciate you joining us for this specially called Local Government Commission meeting to speak about the viable utility reserves. I call the meeting to order. Cindy, do you have any housekeeping on ethics?
No, sir. Do you have the order of meeting sheet? Or I should say I have nothing new to say. It's all the same procedures. If you like, I'll call the roll.
Yes, call the roll, please.
Yeah. Secretary Marshall?
Here.
Present virtually. Secretary Penny?
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Burns?
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Butler?
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Harvey is absent. Ms. Hoffman?
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Philbeck?
Here.
And the treasurer? He's here. All right, all members are here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. And two are absent. And for the staff, present in Dogwood Conference Room are Sharon Edmondson, Debbie Tomasco, Susan McCullen, myself, Cindy Aiken, Victoria Bledsoe at the controls. We have a quorum.
Okay. I'd like to turn the meeting over to Sharon, please.
All right, our next item is pledge of allegiance and then the salute to the North Carolina flag. That would join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary Marshall, if you lead us in our salute to the flag.
I salute the flag of North Carolina and pledge to the Old North State love, loyalty, and faith.
Thank you. So our next item is conflict of interest statement. If all members of the commission would take a moment to review the agenda. And does anyone have actual potential or appearance of a conflict of interest for any of the matters to be considered today? Hearing none, we will move on then to the first item on the agenda. The first two items that we're going to consider today are for you in your role as governing boards for 8 entities: Spencer Mountain, Eureka, Cliffside, Sanitary District, Robertsonville, Kingstown, Pikeville, and Spring Lake and East Laurinburg. Of these 8, 2 are not applying for VUR grants. Spencer Mountain because the town is basically inactive, and East Laurinburg because they do not have utilities. So the first item on the agenda are resolutions for 5 of the 8 units, confirming and committing to do what they're required to do as distressed units under the viable utility statutes. 6th unit, Pikeville, has already presented their resolution, and it was approved by the LGC in a previous meeting. So we've got 5 more of these to approve today. Again, for Eureka, Cliffside, Robertsonville, Kingstown, and Spring Lake. Are there any questions about the content of these resolutions? Just attachment 1. I'm sorry, yeah, thank you, Cindy. That's attachment 1 in your packet, or all 5 of the resolutions in pipeline. Again, these are just These units have been designated distressed by the SWIA and the LGC, and these are the resolutions committing, boards committing, these units committing to do what they have to do under the statute. Right. If no one has questions, and I get a motion to approve these resolutions.
Mike Philbeck, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second by Marshall.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, Cindy, if you call.
Yes.
Vote, please.
All right, attachment 1, the first set of resolutions for these 5 named units to complete their BUR requirements as distressed units. Phil Beck, Marshall, so Secretary Penny.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Thanks. Mr. Butler?
Aye.
Councilwoman Hoffman?
Aye.
And Treasurer Falwell?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you, Cindy. All right, then the second item on the agenda, again, in your role as the governing board for financial management for these 8 entities. We have 5 resolutions that are authorizing applications for funding from DEQ for each of these 5 municipalities and districts. Eureka, Cliffside, Robertsonville, Kingstown, and Pikeville. Again, Spencer Mountain's kind of off the table for all these discussions because that's essentially an inactive town. We don't have a resolution for East Laurinburg again because they don't have utilities and we're in the process of dechartering them anyway. And then Spring Lake, we don't have an application for them because we were not ready to move forward with any projects for their utility system just yet. We've got some more research to do there and some more work to do as far as what is going to be the best approach for resolving some of their utility issues. So attachment 2 is all the resolutions for these 5 entities. Again, Eureka, Cliffside, Robertsonville, Kingstown, and Pikeville. These are all very similar in the wording. The only difference really is the project description paragraph. Other than that, the resolutions are pretty standard wording. Any questions about those before we move for a vote?
And Sharon, just to be clear, these are required for the applications.
Thank you. Yeah, Debbie was reminding me, these are required in order for these units to apply for these grants. All right, hearing no questions, I will accept a motion for approval.
Burns, so moved.
Second.
Hoffman.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, Cindy, if you would call the roll for a vote, please.
Yep. This is attachment 2, the 5 resolutions authorizing these units' applications to applying for DEQ funding. Burns, Hoffman, Secretary Marshall.
Aye.
Thank you. Secretary Penny.
Aye.
Thanks. Mr. Butler.
Aye.
Mr. Philbeck.
Aye.
Thank you. And Treasurer Falwell.
Aye.
Thank you.
3 and 4. And for both of these items, you will be acting as the local government commission, not as the governing board for any particular unit. So item 3 is resolutions, and this is attachment 3 in your packet. Resolutions identifying distressed units pursuant to 159G45. This is the Iowa Utility Statute. The first group on page 2 that starts with Bedford County. These are 12 units that for the last 2 years have scored above the minimum threshold required to be deemed distressed. These are category 3 distressed determinations. Again, that's based on the score that they received when they were put through the scoring mechanism. SWIA has already designated these 12 units as distressed at their April 14th meeting. And so now it's the LGC's turn. And so we have those 12 rather, excuse me. The second group on page 3 that starts with the town of Belmont is a group of 11 units that are 2 years behind on their audits as of March 1st. And some of those have come in since March 1st, but they were still substantially late. And we had to cut this off, at some point to get ready for the meeting. So this is the list of units that have utilities that were 2 years late on their audits as of March 1st, 2022. This resolution will designate them as distressed by the LGC with no further action required by SWIA because they are being categorized as distressed under option 2 of the viable utility reserve process, which is essentially that they're 2 or more years behind on their audits. Any questions about either of those groups of distressed entities?
Sharon, would you tell the board where we are as far as predisclosing to these people about what you just said?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last part of that.
Just tell the board what you've done to communicate with these units before we put it on the agenda.
All right, the first group has been communicated with in joint letter by DEQ and the LGC, letting them know that they met the criteria to be distressed, and they are all fully aware that they're going to be, that they were deemed distressed by SWIA and that the LGC, was up taking that up for a vote. The second group, I don't know. And Victor, do you know if those units have been notified that they're going to be deemed distressed?
Hey Sharon, when you say the second group, did you mean the late audits or the score?
Yes, the late audits, sorry.
We have not. We did, just to supplement what you said about the joint letter that went out for the other units, we also called each one of them before the SWIA meeting to just tell them that, they were on the agenda to be designated, but we did not reach out to the 2-year late audit group.
And these 11 units, no, they're 2 years behind. It's been communicated to them that they're going to be deemed distressed.
And Sharon, would you also share with the board, I'm sorry, I'm at the League of Municipality Convention. Would you share with the board about what you see as a little bit of a perverse incentive regarding the viable utility grants and a town being in financial distress and how that needs to be thought through a little bit clearer?
Yes, the viable utility reserve was allocated just under $500 million in the state's budget for this biennium, all of that coming from the ARPA dollars. And for units that are deemed distressed, it's not, a one-to-one crosswalk, but they definitely have a much better chance of getting approved for one of those grants than somebody that is not necessarily deemed distressed. And in fact, I think it may have even in the budget said that you had to be distressed to apply for that particular pot of money. So yes, units that have not done what they were supposed to are being incentivized with this grant money. However, by being deemed distressed, they also have to go through all the other things in the statutes for the Viable Utilities Reserve, which is training and development of both short and long-term plans. So there is some extra work, required by the unit. It's not just, well, we're distressed, give me grant money. And so, the way the plan is supposed to work is that the grant money will help put them on the path to viability. But there is a little bit of an inverse relationship there where units that have done what they're supposed to do and maintain their systems and charged adequate rates, are not, they don't have access to the funds.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm just saying to the board, it's this perverse incentive. I think we need to think through it a little bit more. There's people who are trying to keep their head above water for all the right reasons. And we need just to make sure that we got the incentives lined up that don't reward the wrong behavior that forces the LGC to do even more work. So I just wanted the board to be marinating on that going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer, because it looks to me like we're rewarding the people that hadn't done what they're supposed to do and denying the people that have been doing what they're supposed to do. Does that about sum it up?
Yes, sir.
Any questions on this particular resolution? Or further discussion? All right, if not, I'll accept a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Nancy Hoff.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Marshall.
Second.
Any further discussion? Not Cindy, please call.
Okay, thanks. This was item 3, attachment 3, identifying distressed units in accordance with the VUR. And the motion is Hoffman, second Marshall. Secretary Penny?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Mr. Butler?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Philbeck?
Aye.
And Treasurer Falwell?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, the last item on the agenda, we're going to switch gears completely away from utilities now to East Laurinburg. East Laurinburg received a little over $27,000 in ARPA funds from the federal government in the summer of 2021 before the LGC took control of the books. Under the federal regulations, they are allowed to use that money as revenue replacement. Theoretically, to replace revenue that was lost as a result of the pandemic. However, the federal government has brought those guidelines to they can pretty much use the money for any sort of governmental operations under the revenue replacement category. These are the documents that are in front of you that are going to make that happen for East Laurinburg, and will spend that money completely before June the 30th. The first is a resolution to actually accept the ARPA funds, and you've approved this for some of our other entities that we're managing already. The second is a project ordinance to budget the money. And the third is the budget amendments to address the fact that the money for these governmental operations had already been budgeted, and we're now going to use the ARPA money to pay those expenses, and we'll be able to use that money that's been freed up for something else. Essentially, when all is said and done, it'll mean that there's more money left to give to the county at June 30th to help pay to keep the streetlights on in East Laurinburg indefinitely. the town will not be getting the second tranche of funds that all of our other local governments will be receiving in July or August of 2022.
Ms. Sharon, they're going to use a piece of this money to do some street work that they want to do prior to June 30th.
Yeah, in the budget amendment, there's also moving some money around to help pay to repair some potholes.
Yeah.
In East Laurinburg before we turn the streets over.
Yeah.
To DOT. In May or June, we'll have more ARPA documents for the remaining units that we are managing, except for Spencer Mountain again, because there's nothing going on at Spencer Mountain. So just to recap, the first, and this is attachment 4, I apologize for not telling you that earlier. The first item is a resolution to accept the money. The second is the money to, is the ordinance to budget the funds. And the third is the budget amendment to move the money around in the general fund and also to cover the cost of repairing potholes. Any questions? All right, accept the motion to approve all three unless somebody wants to do them separately.
I move to do all three of them, Butler.
Is that a motion for approval, Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll second Mike Philbeck.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Cindy, please call them.
Item 4 for East Laurinburg, 3 resolutions regarding the acceptance of ARPA funds and Secretary Marshall.
Aye.
Thank you. Secretary Penny.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hoffman.
Aye.
Thank you. And Treasurer Falwell.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you. That is the end of our agenda.
Let me say a couple things. I apologize. As I said, I'm at the League of Municipalities Convention, and this was scheduled before this meeting was. So I apologize. Hope you. Just 2 quick things. We're moving forward to be out in third week of September in Terrell County to have the LGC meeting, and possibly, hopefully, November in Western North Carolina to have the LGC meeting. And we're going to be working with staff and our legal staff to figure out, especially when there's been audit findings where the auditor has recommended to it be looked at by criminal authorities, be looking towards resolutions on that subject as a result of the LGC and how we feel about these things when the auditor has its findings. So we're gonna measure 4 times and cut once, but I just wanted the board to be aware of those are a couple things we're working on.
Treasurer, do you want to adjourn the meeting or do you want to take care of that?
If you wouldn't mind adjourning it, and let's continue to adjourn in honor of Secretary Marshall and her and all of our interest in what's happening to the people of Ukraine.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Secretary Penn. Secretary Penn. Second.
Second, John Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Secretary Marshall.
Approved, and thank everyone for their continued support for the Moldovan people and the Ukrainian people. The focus now is a bit on Transnistria, which is a part of Moldova. So things are escalating a little bit. I hope not more, but
Thank you. Mr. Butler,
Aye, I approve to adjourn.
thank you. Ms. Councilwoman Hoffman,
Aye, also.
thank you. Mr. Philbeck,
Aye.
look like it. Thank you. And Treasurer Falwell. You may be off the line. Okay. Well, the motion carries.
Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.